Inyanda mine, situated 15 kilometers northeast of Emalahleni in Mpumalanga, was the first mine Exxaro opened after the group was established in 2006. All economically viable reserves within the Inyanda mining rights have now been depleted, with the last coal removed in November 2015. At its peak, the mine produced 1.5 million tons per annum of A-grade thermal coal and employed 105 permanent and 309 contractor employees. In December 2015, Inyanda's mining right, washing plant and rail siding was sold to a third party, who now are responsible for the remaining rehabilitation liabilities. The closure process formed part of the planning procedure from the inception of the mine, with pit closure and vegetation establishment being completed in record time.
Inyanda coal mine conducted concurrent rehabilitation, and therefore it was conducted throughout the life of mine, resulting in successful rehabilitation. Monitoring of the whole operation on a continual basis throughout the life of mine in terms of dust, water monitoring, rehabilitation, blasting, and then providing continual feedback on a quarterly basis through the forum to the interested and affected parties.
When it comes to stakeholders, obviously we have a lot of stakeholders in this area other than the NGOs, which are also our community. And it's important for us to make sure that the communities that we operate in are also influenced in a positive way, and that we can contribute towards that.
Rehabilitation activities includes the filling of the final voids of the two pits. It includes the construction of the decant points. It also includes the putting topsoil on the rehabilitated areas and the revegetation of the areas where topsoil has been laid. That's the reason why a year later of mining the reserves, we've been able to complete the rehabilitation of the mined out areas. The closure of the mine forms an integral part of the day-to-day running of an operation, which includes concurrent rehabilitation. If you cannot afford to close the mine, it means you cannot afford to start the mine.
Exxaro's rehabilitation strategy consists of compilations of what we call 3D final landform designs. And these final landform designs are typically then what we say what the mine is going to look like after closure. Importantly, it's also used for backfill scheduling during the mining process, and that's why we call it concurrent rehab.
So Exxaro identified on this site that there was a little plant called the Frithia humulus, which is also referred to as the fairy elephant's feet. It actually only grows on the sandstone formation of the Eka type. What Exxaro did successfully is to identify an environment, a milieu, exactly where that plant would grow. So there was a harvesting process. A lot of the seeds were harvested and stored away for later use, and then the plants were physically relocated successfully to a new site. So what we have done is the underground contours are different to the surface contours, and we've taken the lowest points on the underground contours and then have a controlled way of extracting water from underground, as opposed to have it in an uncontrolled fashion where water simply comes out at any point and decants into the natural environment. So we can, in a controlled fashion, do the treatment of water before it goes back into the natural environment.
To manage this process is important towards the end, because the idea is If you manage it properly, there's very little double handling, or you try and have no double handling. And double handling of material is where the expense in the company comes in, and it's a huge cost saving if you do not double handle and you place the material in the correct position the first time round. We're currently rolling out this whole process of final landform designs throughout the company. We started off with Inyanda, and that was a very successful case. We're very happy with what we've got, and our other operation at NBC is called Exxaro, and they're also busy doing exactly the same. They're applying the same formula, and the idea is that it's going to be rolled out to all the operations and get final landform designs signed off by all the BUs.
We also spend a lot of time with NGOs and making sure that our relationships are good with our NGOs. We, for example, use AD Environmental, previously Cleanstream, to do a lot of our social interaction, also on the environmental and biodiversity side. And I think that is, for us, extremely important to make sure that we create a situation where everybody can live and work together harmoniously.